Good afternoon, everyone, to Session Spotlight. Today, we're going to talk with Denise Kovnat, Connie Lippert, Robyn Lynde, Deborah Silver, Robyn Spady, Jill Staubitz, Sara Van Tresckow, and Alana Wilcox. Just a reminder that we've got Convergence on July 11th through the 17th. In Wichita, Kansas, and we have everything. We've got classes, we've got fashion shows, we've got the marketplace, tours, exhibits, lots and lots of classes, and you're going to see some of those today and hear about those today. We're going to start off today with Denise Kovnat. Denise is going to talk about echo and gin, playing with color and chords. Today we've got that's going to be a 3-day workshop. It's going to be Monday through Wednesday, July 15th through the 17th. Hello, Denise.
Hello, Kathy, and thanks to HGA for giving me this opportunity to talk about my workshop. I'm going to just repeat and reread what the description is to remind everybody in the audience. My workshop is called Echo and Gin, Playing with Color Chords, and this is a non-loom study of the color wheel and theories of color based on the teachings of Johannes Itten and Joseph Albers. Prior to the workshop, students will choose from a series of echo and gin designs. You're going to get plenty of time to choose, at least 6 weeks. And you're going to choose your warp colors guided by Itten's theories of color chords. During the workshop, participants will weave a variety of samples and using different tie-ups, treadlings, and colors. So all on the same threading, you're going to be able to weave a lot of variations. The focus is on developing a subjective and objective sense of how to optimize the use of color in your weaving, particularly in relation to these designs. So I'm going to share my screen and go right to a post on my blog from Wednesday, April 12th of this year. This is a 12-shaft version of one of the designs you may choose from. So this one has 4 colors in the warp. And if you wanted to venture into this blog post, you'll see that I'm talking about Itten's Color Star. I will make it available to you, the templates. This is fair use in the copyright world, available to use copies of the templates if you do not have the Color Star. So these are his chords. This is a triadic chord, primary colors. This is a split complementary chord. These are 4 colors I chose based on a quadratic chord. And this is a square from the 12 points of the color wheel. You can also pay attention to value because these are the tints, these are the darker tones, and then these are the pure colors. So choosing any of these, this variety, will also emphasize certain portions of your pattern. So you see here on the gray scale, what we have, this dark burgundy is the darkest. Well, look what it does to define the design. What I'm going to do now is to venture to show you a few samples of this piece that is the photo that accompanies my description. So now I'm going to shift away from sharing and go to my document camera. And you'll see here, one of the other takeaways from this workshop will be, again, how to design in echo and gin. These are parallel threadings. They're delightful for color play, for making patterns and colors shift and interact. So this is how I started. This is from handweaving.net. This is a Gabrokina or an ss&W's a design of called snakeskin. And I took it and I paralleled this design line for 8 shafts. So here is sample 1. And my warp was red, orange, green, and blue based on a color chord I chose. This is an echo sample. In this case, I did 22 cotton for the warp. I wanted to see what happened, but your designs will be in 10-2 cotton or tensile or rayon or bamboo. This is another version, and the document camera does distort the light somewhat. This is far more burgundy than it appears on here, but this is a different tie-up and treadling of the same threading using a different colored weft. Yet another version, this one is another Echo design. And this is, I can't remember what, it's hard to tell what the weft is here. It's sort of a red, I believe. This is a gin design. This is Echo plus tabby, really. What's called a compound structure. So still based on that threading that I paralleled on 8 shafts. And sometimes the back can be quite different. In this case, it's a reversal of the pattern. But my favorite part of this workshop is the double weave on a parallel threading. Why? Well, because it's not a block double weave. It's an interlaced, oftentimes interlaced double weave. So you'll get little bits of the lower level popping. And you'll also get an entirely different look on the other side. So we will learn about drafting double weave for Echo and Gin threadings, for parallel threadings. I'm going to conclude with a cowl that I wove based on my, using my threading, but with double weave. And you can see that there are 2 weft colors in this. There's a turquoise here, and there's a royal blue here. It's hard to see on a document camera, but there is a lot of iridescence in this. Iridescence being the rainbow, the oil in puddles, the pearlescence of an abalone shell, which is a delightful achievement that Echo and Gin provide for again and again. I think that's pretty much a wrap up. We're getting close to the end. I do want to say that my mantra is you can't judge a warp by its colors. The weft can change the look of the original colors quite dramatically, and the pattern itself will affect how the colors blend. That means we'll learn about principles like simultaneous contrast, in which colors may appear quite different depending on the colors they are next to. I urge weavers in this workshop to try unusual weft colors to work out of their comfort zone. Orange, olive, green, bronze, chartreuse, pink, fuchsia, they will not look the same in the final product. So I thank you for this opportunity. I welcome email questions. Am I allowed, Kathy, to give my email on this broadcast?
Sure. And we can put it in the chat.
I will put it in the chat. It's, let's see. I'm going to put it in the chat. So if you have any questions.
Okay. Thank you, Denise. We appreciate it. Go to her. There's her email. You can email her. There's also information on the website about materials that you'll need and more information about that. It's the Echo and Gin Playing with Color Chords. It's a 3-day workshop. It is Monday through Wednesday. Thank you. Next up, we've got Connie Lippert. Wedge Weave. It's a 3-day workshop, Monday through Wednesday. It is July 15th through the 17th. Hello, Connie.
Hey, Kathy, how are you doing?
Good. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. So I'm going to share my screen. At least I thought I was going to share my screen.
Technology's great, isn't it?
It's just sharing your screen. It's not sharing mine. Well, I guess I
Did you
won't.
click on the green box that says share?
Yes, and it just shows your page.
Do you have the option for more options? Do you see more options there?
Chrome tab, window, here I am. Okay, let's see if that works. Thank you.
There you go.
Perfect.
Okay, as Kathy said, or maybe she didn't say, I don't know. My workshop is on wedge weave, and it's 3 days, July 15th through the 17th. Wedge weave is a weft face weave done on the diagonal, and that is what gives it its special qualities. And in the workshop, well, let me say this to begin with. People want to know what level of weaving they need to be to take it. I usually say intermediate, but basically you just need to be able to warp your loom and have some weaving experience. You need to come to the workshop with your loom ready to weave. And if you can do that, that's good enough. Weft face experience is good, but not absolutely necessary. So in the workshop, I start people out with a chipboard loom. We make a small, simple loom just to learn and practice the technique. This way I can kind of keep everybody on the same page and make sure that they're understanding how the wedge weave is built and practiced. And once they kind of get a handle on that, they move to their regular looms that they brought with them and do it on that loom. This is the chipboard, and then this is a finished student sample of somebody in my last workshop. Sometimes people finish their samples, and other times they just do what they need to do to understand the concepts and then never finish the sample, but that's individual decision. So, and also I get a lot of questions about, well, what kind of loom do I need to have? And basically you can have almost anything. As you can see, this is just a very simple loom. As long as you can get a good tensioned warp on it, this type of loom is satisfactory. And this is just stretcher bars made into a loom, and that works fine too. People bring Murex often, and they can be small Murex or much larger Murex. This is a table loom, a portable table loom that a floor loom, a portable floor loom that someone brought to a class. And this is a table loom. I think it was a Dorothy. So any type of loom is acceptable. As long as you can, like I said, get good tension warp, you're ready to go. And also in my workshop, I present several PowerPoints about the history of wedge weave, the technique, how it's done, and also examples of other wedge weavers, several different types of PowerPoints.
Now I'm sorry, Connie, I see that there's no materials fee. So everybody will be bringing the materials that they need?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, the little sample looms that we make in the beginning, that I just bring. That's not very expensive. Actually, the biggest expense I have is handouts, but I just decided I don't charge that much, so I just let it go this time.
Okay.
I also talk about, it's not a design workshop, obviously, but I talk about how I personally plan my designs and execute them, the steps I go through. Normally it's just a diagram, a loose diagram, and the main points of interest in the piece that I'm going to put in, and how I plan my colors and all that type of thing. So I do go over that. I have a notebook of traditional Navajo wedge weaves that I like to share with people, since the wedge weave technique originated with the Navajo in the late 1800s. And in the last few years, I've been able to add some contemporary Navajo wedge weavers to my notebook, which is thrilling, because for many, many years that was not the case, or at least I wasn't aware of any. And I have quite a few handouts, written instructions of how to do the technique, ways to finish your weaving, and tips specific to issues that come up with wedge weave and how to handle those.
Well, Connie, this sounds like an amazing workshop. I appreciate you sharing the information on this. Can you put your website or your email in the chat? So
I'll
if
be
people
glad
have
to.
more questions. And the other thing is, information is online about these workshops if you sign up or you need more information. Thanks,
Okay,
Connie.
I will do that. Thank you.
Wedge Weave 3-day workshop, Monday through Wednesday, is July 15th through the 17th. Thank you, Connie. We appreciate it. Next up, we've got Robyn Lynde. Robyn is going to teach class warp on a rigid Heddle loom. It's a one-day workshop, and it's Thursday, July the 11th. Hey, Robyn.
Hi. I will tell you, I don't care, but everybody pronounces my name the way you did. It's actually pronounced Lined. You can blame my husband for that. But
Thank you for telling me.
I had to teach my kids to answer to just about anything when they showed up at school. So anyway, I am going to share my screen. Oh, come on here. Share. And make that go there. Okay. So yes, and start my timer. Okay. So teaching class warp on the rigid Heddle loom. And many people know about clasped weft. This is clasped weft, where you take one yarn from one side, you loop it under another, and you drag it back through, and you put your join wherever you want it. So that's clasped weft. But what about clasped warp? This is where you would begin a warp, each warp end. Picture this, that you start with one color and you end up with another, and you didn't get a dye pot out. You just are doing this with your yarns. You can place those joins in a random position or plan a design somewhere. And this is great for a rigid Heddle loom because it's direct warp, and we need to do that. So I'm going to share a bunch of pictures in a minute, but I'm going to share tips to make a successful project, and then talk a little bit how you could adapt this technique to a multi-shaft loom, but that's not what we're going to do in the class, because everybody will bring a rigid Heddle loom. I did write an article on this in Little Looms. I think that was the first issue of Little Looms. So I wrote an article on that for that, and I had done a lot of different experimenting with two colors. So you can see where the color in this is starting with gray on one end and starting with white on the other end, and just joining it in different designs. I will warn you, this makes a doubled warp. And so you have to think about that when you're setting it and when you're deciding on weft and all. And this, I just have some more pictures of some examples here. I did a lot at the beginning with those natural colors. I raised Jacob sheep, and I have the natural colors, and I do a lot of natural dyeing, and that's what a lot of those were. The ones in the bottom corner probably are not naturally dyed, obviously. They're a little shorter. We're going to do a full length scarf in this, a decent sized scarf. And this is sort of a picture of, notice the straw on the ground. That was at a fair when I was demonstrating, but that's a clasped warp in progress, warping it. And I think that's the piece that's hanging on the right corner. And I just have some more pictures of what some of these might look like. The last time I've done this class a few times. This one, just showing some examples of how they design their warps and sort of the setup. Usually there's a big long table in a conference room, and that's about the right length to have to clamp your loom to one side and clamp the peg to the other. Or some people have a loom on a stand and we clamp to a table. But you're working with that direct warping method, which is really fun. And that's sort of I sometimes say that when my class is finished, it looks like a kindergarten classroom exploded. But, we have stuff set up everywhere and yarn all over the place. So that was that was down in Ventura, I think. There's another one I did recently. I'm providing all the yarns, although the exception was this one on the right where she has a variegated yarn. She chose the orange out of my stash, but she wanted to use this variegated yarn. And anybody that wants to sign up for the class and wants to find out about using specific yarns, they could certainly email me and talk about it. This was one of the last ones I did where I used to teach this where I did it just a half-day class, because the tricky technique is getting the loom warped and designing it. And once it's warped, well, then it's just weaving. And so I do a half-day class for that. This I've experimented more now with full-day classes, which is what mine is scheduled for. So it'll be fun because we'll actually finish there's time to finish the scarves if I make sure I don't dawdle too much and talk too much. These people, most of them finished or almost finished, but they all owned their own looms. So it didn't really matter if they, had them cut off the loom or not. But that was the last one I did a month ago. Then I thought up, okay, I have a minute left. I thought up the idea of, well, wait, what if we switch those yarn positions? Instead of having like the one on the bottom, all purple at one end and all lilac at the other, I switched partway through, and same with that blue and white one. Let me go back a moment. So that's a technique that also I will introduce and can be done. Then I decided, well, what if we use this on a floor loom? And that was the first one I did. We won't be doing this in the class, but I wanted to show you that before Convergence, this article will be out in the May-June Handwoven. And that's just what I've done, is the same exact technique you're using for the clasped warp on a rigid heddle. You could adapt, once you understand it, you can do it on your floor loom and get things where, your pattern shifts. You can see the pattern shifting. Here's my supply list quickly. This is also on the website, the Convergence site. The one thing I forgot to include on that was paper for packing your warp. It'd be great if people bring the right paper, but I will provide some as well.
Robyn, this is great that you've talked about the supply list, and that it is important that you can go to the website and see the supply list and figure out what all you need to bring. And again, this is going to be a wonderful workshop. Thank you so much, Robyn. We appreciate it.
You're welcome. Those are the colors I've got. So
okay. Thanks, Robyn. Robyn Lynde. See if I can get
Yes.
it right this time. Clasped weave on a rigid heddle loom. This sounds so exciting. I've not seen this before, which doesn't mean anything, but I encourage you all to take a look at this. It's a one-day workshop. It is Thursday, July the 11th. Thank you, Robyn.
Thank you.
Next Robyn is it's Deborah Silver. Hi, Deborah. She's going to do split shed weaving. It's an introduction, so it's a 90-minute seminar, and it's going to be Sunday afternoon, July the 14th. Hey, Deborah.
Hi, everyone. How are you? I will be teaching Intro to Split Shed Weaving. Let me go ahead and share my screen here. Okay. Okay. Can you see that all right?
Yes.
Okay, so I am teaching Intro to Split Shed Weaving. If you don't know what split shed weaving is, it's a way that you can weave curves and blend colors in lots of different structures, all on 4 shafts. And I will be talking about what a split shed is, which is basically a layer of warps that go in between the upper and lower warps in your shed. And I will talk about how you make a split shed on different loom types. So I use a countermarch loom, but you can also do it on counterbalance looms, on jack looms, direct tie-ups, table looms, and you don't need any special equipment. It's just a matter of navigating a shuttle above or below that split layer of warps. And I will talk about how to read a split shed weaving draft. And also a wonderful method for using a cartoon that will lay underneath your warp that's done on cloth so that it never wrinkles and it always flattens right back out after you beat. And like I said, everything is salvage to salvage in split shed weaving. And there's just so many different structures that you can do just on 4 shafts. And all of these structures that you're looking at right now are done on 1 threading with 1 warp. But it's just a matter of changing your tie-ups and, how you weave it. and you can weave double cloth, or you can weave striped cloth, or you can blend colors. It's really a very freeing way of weaving. Like all of these here are done on a straight threading, 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way across. You don't use blocks in split shed weaving. You just have one threading that goes all the way across the warp, and you get to choose where you go from a warp dominant twill to a weft dominant twill, or if you're doing a tide weave, where you're going from pattern to ground. And you can blend colors in split shed weaving, so you can create shading, which is what you see there on the right, which is summer and winter with 2 pattern wefts in every row. So here on the left, you see a combination of straight and broken twill, and that's just one continuous weft weaving. On the right is exactly the same weave structure where you're combining 2 wefts in every row. And I will talk about how to do that, and also how to combine 2 wefts on opposites so that you can weave double cloth. And I also do, if anybody's familiar with my faces, this is how I do it. I combine 2 pattern wefts in extended summer and winter. So you can see where on the right, I'm using a pink and a dark blue, and you can see these areas where they both combine together to create shading. So there's a lot of different things you can do. If you're a Saori weaver and you want to kind of find another way to expand that philosophy, you can choose different weave structures and split shed weaving, and not use a cartoon and combine colors, but do it in different weave structures. So there are just endless possibilities on just 4 shafts for things you can do in split shed weaving. And I will be bringing lots and lots of samples, and I will also have a demo loom. Hopefully I'll have 3 demo looms, because I would like to have everyone actually have a chance to really try this and do it, because I think that's the best way of learning, is to really experience it. So I'm working on getting at least 3 looms there, just so that people have an opportunity to really do it. If you want to see more of my work, or if you want to contact me and ask questions, you can just go to my website, deborahsilverstudio.com. You can contact me through there. I also wrote a book on split shed weaving, and there is a demo on YouTube if you want to see me actually doing it. I think if you just put in Deborah Silver Weaver, it'll be the only thing that comes up. So thank you. I hope to see you there. And I'm also teaching a 3-day workshop at Convergence.
Thanks, Deborah. This is wonderful. Great workshop. If you want to try something a little different that's not overwhelming, split shed weaving. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Next up, we have Robyn Spady. Robyn is teaching the inside and outside of couture tweed fabrics. It's a 3-hour seminar. It is Saturday morning. Robyn.
Hello. Am I there?
You're there.
Okay. All right. Thank you for having me. I love it when we have more than one Robyn. It really catches my attention early on. So I'm going to start sharing my screen because I'm going to go over, and I want to give you a little heads up about what we're going to be doing in this class. This is a 3-hour class. Hold on, let me get my screen up. Hold on. So this is going to be, as Kathy said, the inside and outside of couture tweed fabrics. It's going to be on Saturday morning, July 13th. So it's an intense morning. And when you think about tweed, you may think about something very traditional. So you may think about the English gentleman, who's largely shown outside, perhaps in a library, usually very good looking and somebody that you want to hang out with and drink brandy. But about 100 years ago, things started pumping up the volume on tweeds. and they started taking on a very different look. And this really goes back largely to Linton Tweed and Coco Chanel, and trying to let's reinvent the tweed. And so this is kind of where we're going into the 21st century tweed. If you, just as an aside, if you are in London, this is one of the exhibitions inside the Gabrielle Chanel Fashion Manifesto exhibition. I call it the Hall of Suits, and all of these are these couture tweeds. So much of what I'm going to be sharing is based on Chanel. However, I'm also going to be going into showing you examples of tweeds used by Valentino, Armani, Christian Lacroix, especially Christian Lacroix, probably one of the most undervalued designers ever, because he did some really unique things with fabrics that look very hand woven. In fact, some of them are hand woven. So what are we going to do? I'm going to start off this 3-hour session giving you an introduction to couture tweed designs and design techniques. And we're going to look at yarns, we're going to look at different weaves, so different drafts, but we're really going to be looking at design, proportion, and more. But I also want to give you the opportunity to learn how to create your own unique yarn without having to spin. So if you said, well, I don't spin, but I want to really work with some of these cool yarns and incorporate them into my fabrics, we're going to be covering that. We're going to have quite a few hands-on exercises. What I want you to do is think of yourself less as a weaver and more as a textile designer. We really need to kind of back up and say, you know what, even if you don't know how to weave, you can come and you can sit here and think, is textile design something that might incentivize me maybe learning how to weave? So no weaving experience is necessary. It may be helpful because of some of the drafts I'll be sharing. These are the half dozen or more interlacements that I see in these couture tweeds. But it's great for rigid Heddle weavers because many of these fabrics are plain weave. It's about the yarns, which is why I also think this class is inspiring for spinners, because if you're looking at, I've been spinning these really cool yarns, but what do I do with them? Or if I'm selling really cool yarns that I've spun, how do I get somebody convinced that they can do something with one skein? Because some of these are taking little bits here and there and just adding it, and kind of like the old Brill Cream commercials, if those of you are old enough to remember, a little dabble do you. So we're going to be working on that. The materials fee is $10. This is giving you a 3-ring binder to get you started on a tweed design notebook, which is where you'll be able to put your samples that you make during the class. Supplies, including the yarns, are also part of that. All I ask is that people bring a pair of scissors. However, if you get there and you go, oh, shoot, I didn't bring scissors, I'll have some on hand too. So hopefully this has intrigued you enough to come and participate on Saturday morning, July 13th, in the class, The Inside and Outside of Couture Tweed Fabrics. So thank you for the opportunity to give my little heads up about, I think, what is a fun class. So come on.
Thank you, Robyn. And just a reminder, if you've ever taken Robyn class, the handouts are worth the price of admission. She does beautiful handouts. So when you get back home and you're like, what did we talk about? Now, what did she say about that? You'll have that information there. Robyn Spady, The Inside and Outside of Couture Tweed Fabrics. It's a 3-hour seminar. It's Saturday afternoon, July the 13th. Thanks, Robyn. Next up, we've got Jill Staubitz, Summer and Winter on 4 and 8 shafts. It's a 3-day workshop. It's Monday through Wednesday, July 15th through the 17th. Hey, Jill.
Hi, everyone. It's so nice to be here and be a part among all these wonderful instructors. So I'm very honored. I'm going to be covering Summer and Winter on 4 shaft through 8 shaft. And I think it will be great for anyone who is from beyond beginner all the way into intermediate and advanced. Summer and Winter is a tied unit weave. It is probably the most familiar to all of us. And the reason why weavers love Summer and Winter so much is because it offers you the opportunity to have big, bold patterning and lots of color. And that's why I love it. And my focus is so much of that is on design too. So you'll have that opportunity as well. We'll also be talking about polychrome, tackete, and other variations of summer and winter. So this is the whole package, but I'm going to share the screen right now. Okay. Okay, so beginning summer and winter, I also give very intensive books that you can keep for your weaving library, but we'll start whether on 4 or 8. We're going to start with the foundation because I think it's most important for you to really understand what summer and winter is all about in terms of threading, in terms of treadling, in terms of tie-ups, and of course those styles, which are what really makes summer and winter very versatile for weavers as well. So we're going to learn all that first, and you will receive a draft prior to class, whether you are 4 or 8 shafts. Once in class, you become really comfortable with weaving summer and winter, doing a little bit of that on your GAMP. Then we're going to start with 4 shafts and get into polychrome, not polychrome, hybrid summer and winter, which is really exciting for 4 shafters. 8 shafters too can learn a lot from just understanding what this is all about. And after that, we're also paralleling with 8 shaft as well, but you're going to have a lot of time to play and really learn and break the rule. Once you understand that foundation, I'm all about getting really excited about what you're weaving and breaking those rules. We're going to talk about polychrome on 4 as well as 8. I've got these books that are very colorful and I think very well organized, and so that you can just pick them up and understand, hey, I need to be lifting shaft 1 and 4 here or shaft 1 and 3 here to cover my weft. This is definitely, I teach this for jack loom weavers. That's because we're going to be using a skeleton tie-up. But just this is a profile draft of the 4 shaft version, and will be able to weave this on your sample in polychrome as well. Then we're going to go over to 8 shaft, and we're going to talk about, in terms of 8 shaft, block weaves, because I think it's so important to understand that summer and winter is a block weave versus and a unit weave versus a block weave. We're going to talk about profile drafting in terms of summer and winter, how you can take a profile draft. It really makes a lot of sense to people who have never really understood this before. When I teach this, they'll go, I get it now. So we'll talk about how you can take a profile draft and turn it into a summer winter draft so you have the chance to create and design, understanding all those fundamentals and how many the shafts you have, how much you can build on your patterning. I want to say to those of you who have 4 shafts, no need for shaft envy, because summer and winter on 4 is just as exciting as summer and winter on 8 and beyond. The fundamentals are the same no matter what where you go with it. Once you understand summer and winter, you totally understand it in terms of all the shafts possibilities.
Now, Jill, this is a lot of information, but
Yeah.
I want to reassure people that this is a 3-day workshop, right? So you're
Right.
going to get a little bit the first day, and then you're going to build on that and build on that.
Yes,
Great workshop.
very doable for you.
And just a reminder to everybody, Jill's classes for spinning and weaving week were a huge success. Some of them sold out. We had to add some. So if you've had you got a taste of this, here's your chance to take a full 3-day workshop with Jill. You'll learn a lot more about summer and winter. It will all make sense. So I encourage you all to check this out. Summer and winter on a 4 and 8 shafts. It's a 3-day workshop. It's Monday through Wednesday, July 15th through the 17th. Thank you, Jill, so much. We appreciate you sharing this.
Thank you.
Next, it's Sara Van Tresckow. Hey, Sara, she's going to be talking about textile industry and trade prior to the power loom, lessons from the past toward a sustainable future. This is a 90-minute seminar. It is Saturday, July the 13th. Hey, Sara.
We got everything going here?
Got everything going. Are you doing
Okay.
share?
Yeah.
Okay.
Screen. I don't know that share screen. Screen. Are we there? Share. Is that right?
It's
Yes.
going. There you go.
Okay.
But we don't
Hard
have
to
your
wear on my
slides. We've
glasses.
got
The
your,
lighting in this room is terrible.
Sara, we don't have your slides. We have the desktop.
Oh, I didn't want to share my desktop. I just want just me. I don't have a PowerPoint.
Okay, then you don't want to share your screen. Unshare
Okay,
your
then
screen.
we will take that off somewhere here. Where is that now? I can
Okay,
find the button.
Here we go.
Okay, there we are. I apologize for not having the PowerPoint. We moved into this room on September 8th with 50 cartons of books, and I have not had the time to put together something for the 5-minute presentation. This is for fiber artists in general. This is not something specific to any technique. Anybody who works with fiber and is worried about how the textile industry is currently structured will find things of interest in what I have to present. Unlike most people, I did not get my start here in the US with the bicentennial and all of the relatively new history that went with it. I got dumped in Europe with my husband back in 1971. After a couple years in the Ruhr Valley where it was too crowded, we moved. And this is probably the luckiest dumb luck break that I ever had. He had attended elementary school in a German town called Neumünster. Now, Neumünster is an industrial city based on textiles and leather from the Middle Ages. There is a textile museum there that at the time we moved was curated by Klaus Tito, who assisted in putting together the Torsberger Prachtmantel reconstruction. And he also founded NISAT, which is the Northern European Society of Archaeological Textiles. This gentleman was a friend of the family for almost 15 years. This kind of a background, plus buying a little house with some sheep, leading us to the local shepherds who were like 4th and 5th generation in an area where shortly after we moved there, the Germans discovered the ancient Viking city of Hedeby or Heidebu and started digging that up. My sense of textile history is a little older than most people's. A lot of it is in the books back here. A lot of it came anecdotally from talking to people who came from these cultures where textile production was extremely old. I'm basing this on 2 kinds of textile production. One, ceremonial items, things like coverlets, baby carriers, folk skirts, traditional belts, mittens. That is something that was done in the home, especially for the family. But the textiles we need daily were produced as trade items. How far back does that go? Last winter, I was asked to give this presentation to a group in Canada, and since then I found another book. I don't know if you can read the title of this. It is an interesting and exciting title that I want to put into all of this. The Textile Revolution in Bronze Age Europe. In the last 5 years, some of the archaeologists and some of the finds that we all know from our history books have been completely revised in terms of whether they were home production or trade textiles. And it's starting to look as though the textile trade goes almost back to the late Stone Age. And there is documentation for some of these things. In the meantime, for Asian textiles, Chris Buckley has put all kinds of things out. So what I want to do is share the experiences I've had with a book list that will help anybody go down any rabbit hole you're looking for to go forward. How can we better make our cloth? Some of it was good, some of it was bad.
Well, this sounds like if you like history at all, this would be a wonderful class to learn about how did we get here and what does it mean?
And the idea is to just kind of look back. Some of the things we've done in the past were lovely and others were a total bomb. It's worth looking back to find out what went on. And honestly, from all of this historical information, I have actually implemented a number of small things in the textile work that I do that have worked marvelously.
Well, Sara, you are a wealth of knowledge, and I encourage people to come take advantage of that.
Well,
Her
and the
class-
90 minutes is to save time and money for people so they can find time to show up.
There you go. Textile industry and trade prior to the power loom. Lessons from the past toward a sustainable future. It's a 90-minute seminar. It'll be Saturday afternoon on July 13th. Thanks, Sara.
You're
Next
welcome.
up, we have Alana Wilcox. Hey, Alana.
Hello, hello, and thank you so much for having me today.
Her
I'm
class
having a little
is
bit of technical
Spin with
difficulties, but I'm
Confidence.
here. We're good.
Okay, her class is Spin with Confidence. What are you going to tell us about class?
All right. So, can you see my screen right now?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So yeah, so this workshop, this is probably one of my favorite ones to teach. So for those of you that don't know me, first off, hello, I'm Alana. And my background is one of spinning, dyeing, all the fibery things, right? But I think it's really important, depending upon how you get into the fiber arts, if you are a weaver first and then a spinner, or are you a spinner first and then a weaver, and your understanding of yarn construction and what that yarn is going to be for, and the end use and the purpose of it is really super duper important, right? Because it's not just a matter of sitting at your wheel and spinning, which of course there are people that do that, and all the more power to you if you are just a yarn maker and that's it. But I don't know about you. I'm one of those people that if I'm going to take the time and I'm going to actually make the yarn, I want to do something with it, and I want to actually enjoy the product that I'm going to make. So I want to do so knowing that the yarn is going to be perfect for its intended use. And in order to have that outcome be a success, I want to make sure that it's going to match whatever pattern or project that it's intended for. So as a spinner, I was never a pattern reader or follower first, right? So I wasn't a knitter first, I wasn't a weaver first as far as following patterns. So I knew how to knit and I knew how to do all of those techniques, but I didn't actually know how to read a pattern. So I didn't actually know what sock weight yarn was commercially, or what yarn someone should be using. So actually, I'm just going to stop sharing my screen for a second just so that you can see what I'm talking about. Because if you were to go to the store, right, and you were to purchase sock yarn and you were to knit it, you might get a pair of hand knit socks that looks like this. Well, when I first spun fiber and I made yarn with it, I was reading the Twisted Sister sock book and I followed the instructions, and the pattern was more about spinning yarn to follow a knit like stitches per inch, as opposed to matching the yarn's gauge, right, or how thick the yarn diameter should be, or the density of the yarn. So I was able to make fabric that fit my foot, but guess what? These socks over here, I affectionately like to refer to them as my pot holder socks, because like literally the density of these socks, if I hold them, you know, I don't know if you can see, but these are like lead, okay? These are not, I mean, maybe they would be really, really dense slippers or something that, you know, you would want to wear I don't know, like if you were walking on burning coals and you would never want the fire to ever hit your feet, that kind of thing. But this is not what I would imagine a sock to be, right? So the idea of how can we infuse the quality of potentially a commercial yarn's pattern and what the designer is intending in the patterns, right, into our hand spun yarn, so that we can really get those qualities and properties into our hand spun yarn, so that when we go to make socks or shawls or sweaters or whatever garments or whatever items and projects that we want our yarn to be, so that it doesn't just end up as yarn, we can actually get it to be exactly how we want it. So if you're someone that maybe has tried to start spinning your yarn and you're just really loving the act of spinning, but you want to really get more control out of the outcomes, then this is going to be the workshop for you. So I'm going to switch now back over to my little list over here. Hang on. Okay. All right, so yeah, so for the target person that wants to come and take this class, if you are someone that can spin a continuous yarn, right? So you can have the fiber pretty much holding together, you know, you can have a continuous yarn, it can still be lumpy bumpy, that's fine. I'm going to break it down for you in very isolated individual exercises, right? So throughout the course of 2 days, I'm going to give you individual exercises to perform so that we can look at specifics like twist angle, twist per inch, wraps per inch. We can kind of go down and break down all of the different characteristics and qualities that a yarn has, both in hand spun and also looking at a commercial yarn, right? Because we have a machine that is taking loose fiber and putting it together to make yarn. And so if we can identify what those qualities and properties are in yarns that we love, and then try to mirror them and match them in our hand spun, then we are going to more than likely, fingers crossed, get the results that we want when we follow those commercial patterns and or design patterns and projects for ourselves using our hand spun yarn as well. And we'll be able to do so with much more consistency. So in addition to these exercises, I'm going to also have demonstrations where I will show you different ways that you can control both what your spinning equipment is doing. So I'm going to be using an electric spinner, but I will also be happy to demonstrate and do demonstrations on traditional spinning wheels. So whatever spinning equipment you have, if you are a drop spindler and you want to bring that for ease of travel, feel free. If you want to share my electric spinner, I have two. I can bring one, just let me know in advance, because I know traveling with big bulky wheels can be challenging, but all spinning equipment types are welcome in my workshop. So feel free to bring whatever you are comfortable with, because all of the techniques and tricks and tips that I'm going to be sharing with you are applicable to any spinner spinning for any type of yarn, any project, okay? And so we're going to be building on these exercises all throughout the 2-day workshop. And it's going to be taking place on Monday and Tuesday. So it's a full 2 days from 9 to 4:30 p.m. And like I said, I'm just going to ask that you bring your spinning equipment with you, and also that you're going to bring the fiber that you want to spin. So I will be bringing some handouts and some fiber for you to experiment with. I'm going to bring some pencil roving, some yarn for us to do some exercises with. But for the most part, I want you to bring the fiber that you would like to get really good at spinning and to control for a project that you have in mind. So if there is a pattern, like a commercial pattern that you would like to spin for, and you've been trying and you've been struggling with, and you really would like to kind of, focus in on that, go ahead and bring that pattern. And even I invite you, bring the commercial yarn that pattern calls for, so that we can then spend those 2 days trying to break down what are those qualities and properties in that yarn. Why do you think that designer, when they were making that pattern, picked that yarn? And then we can infuse all of those properties into the yarn that you spin.
Alana, thank you so much for this. This is a great class for spinners, and it's geared to one of those who, I know how to spin, but I'm ready to go to the next level. Thank you, Alana. We appreciate it. This is a 2-day workshop. It's Monday and Tuesday. Spin with confidence, controlling yarn diameter and density. And thank you all for joining us today. Convergence has lots to choose from, 150 seminars and workshops. Everything from 90 minutes, you saw several of those today, 3-hour seminars, we saw those today, 1 and 2 and 3-day workshops. Just remember that if you are going to be taking classes, it will probably be to your advantage to get the Convergence value package. You get 25% off your class. You need to have a membership if you want to take a class. The other thing to remember, buy that membership first before and get your CVP before you order your classes. We want to make sure you get that discount. Registration is now open. You can start purchasing those classes. We've got more of these sessions coming up. If you're still trying to decide what you want, you see a class you want, let's go get it. Some of these classes are starting to fill up. We want to make sure you get the classes that you want. July the 11th through the 17th, Wichita, Kansas. Please join us. And if you need more information, you can always go to weavespindye.org or give us a call. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow for more sessions.